been in the CRM industry, database industry for about 10 years. Gen Z, they're going to be the high net earners of tomorrow. 37% of Gen Z trust TikTok for financial advice. The newer generations live on Instagram and TikTok and social media platforms. You have to be there. If you want to work with them in the future, you have to be there. These younger generations want to trust someone. No longer Googling. A lot of them are in ChatGPT or TikToking or using the Instagram search. They're not going to ask their parents or their cousin or their father or whatever. They're going to ask Instagram. If you're that type of person, you want to learn about tech, learn about trends, you're in the right spot. Hello, everyone. My name is Massimo, and this is the first episode of Advisor Tech Trends. I'm super excited to be doing this. You've probably seen me on some other podcasts with a colleague of mine, and now I'm kind of going off on my own and making my own. The point of this podcast is to focus on the financial advisor space. Within that space, talk a lot about tech trends, talk about trends I'm seeing with advisors in general, talk about forecasts or future predictions. I'm going to have guests. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've been looking forward to it. I love talking. For those of you that know me, I can never shut up sometimes. And yeah, so I appreciate you being here. Going to be doing this every week. And maybe you'll be on the show one day. Please, as always, comment, like, subscribe. Love hearing from my fans. And yeah, let's get into this. So I've been in the industry, been in the CRM industry, database industry for about 10 years. I've been working with advisors pretty heavily for about 5. And I've actually had a product in the industry for about 2. And so I see a lot of stuff in the industry, and I talk to a lot of high-end advisors, talk to advisors in general, thousands of them a year. And so I like to consider myself as having a bit of a voice. I often dig deep into real problems that the advisors have, almost from a consultative approach, and try to find solutions and obviously build it into the product we sell. So that's where I'm coming from in this. But the idea of this podcast is just to generate some conversation. I really like where the Canadian advisor space is going. I'm Canadian. I like the innovation that's coming. I like what the carriers are doing. A lot of them are allowing advisors to choose their own tech. And so there's a lot of curiosity out there and what should I use type scenarios. So that's a little bit about me. Super big tech nerd. I'm an early adopter of everything. A lot of my close family and friend tease me about that. And so you'll hear that a lot in this podcast. You'll hear new tech trends. I will have ones on AI. I will have ones on all kinds of fun stuff that's happening in the market. And it's typically stuff that is like literally just happening. So if you're that type of person, you want to learn about tech, learn about trends, you're in the right spot. So what am I going to talk about today? This one's less tech, less. I'm not going to talk about a specific technology and compare it to other ones, although there will be podcasts like that. This one is to talk a little bit about what I'm seeing some successful advisors do and some successful advisors not do, and it's harming them in the future, in my opinion. And by the way, I might have some opinions in this. I guess that's the whole point, right? The new money in every country, but I'll talk about Canada, is in Gen Z, millennials, younger people, 30 and younger. They're going to be the high net earners of tomorrow or of the next 20, 30 years. And a lot of advisors are struggling to capture those people. What do I do with them? How do I communicate with them? I don't really relate to them. They don't come to trade shows. They don't ask for advice from their parents. Like they're kind of these like solo runners that do what they want. How do I get to them? Right. And I hear this question come up a lot. I talk to a lot of advisors. A lot of people are struggling with this. And so in today's episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm seeing. I'm also going to talk about how to execute on it. Surprise, this is going to talk about doing some social media conversations with clients. I'll talk about how I've done it. I'll talk about how I see some advisors doing it, some easy wins for you to achieve this, and we'll go from there. So it's probably no surprise that a lot of these younger generations are living on social media applications. Traditionally or these days, it's the big hitters. TikTok is a really big one. Instagram is also a really big one. There's also LinkedIn for like young professionals, so you can't forget about that one. But TikTok and Instagram are kind of these big heavy hitters, and when I say heavy hitters, it's like billions of monthly users on each of them. And over half, 60 some odd percent in the stats I see, are under 30 that are on those platforms. And there's some crazy stats out there. I probably should have had them here, but oh yeah, I do actually. So 37% of Gen Z, so these younger people, trust TikTok for financial advice. And that's going to just keep climbing, right? I personally see it in relationships I have and people I know where they actually go to, like, they don't Google things anymore. They TikTok it. How do I make a recipe? What's the best time to invest my money? Where to invest my money? They check TikTok. And so, whether you agree with that or not, that's the reality. That's where your future clients are. And so, if you're trying to build your business for the future, that's what you need to understand. Now, it may be scary, it may not be, but a lot of these people actually watch these videos and trust these videos and act on these videos. So they could be as simple as like how to save money, what an RRSP is, what a TFSA is, things like that. And the interesting part in this is there's a lot of noise out there and a lot of people who don't know what the heck they're talking about and shouldn't be saying what they're saying. And so that should that should show as like an opportunity to people like yourself who actually do know what they're talking about and do know what they're saying to actually get on these platforms and help these young people. Because at the end of the day, they want to make more money, they want to grow their wealth, all of that stuff. And if they're on that platform trusting it, you might as well be there too, right? And so the 2 that you should focus on, there's Instagram, TikTok are the 2 biggest. Now, they're very easy to set up accounts with. If you're gonna choose one and you're kinda like, "You know what, I just wanna start with one," I would say Instagram. It's a lot easier. You probably have a Facebook account. There's tons of people there looking for news, and there's all kinds of marketing and stuff you can do later on. But I would say make an Instagram account, get on there. You don't have to get fancy with it. It can just be your name. And then underneath that, you can actually put handles where it kind of says, so it'd be Massimo Yanni Roberto in my case. And then you can put like handles like the tech advisor guy or something. And so people can still find you. And at the end of the day, the thing to keep in mind is these younger generations want to trust someone like any human. Like, trust is a big thing, especially when you're giving people money, and so you have to engage with them and build trust at an early stage. How do you do that? The easiest way in your head to think about these things is just to provide value. Just give them some value early on. I see a lot of people and don't expect anything back, right? At the end of these clips, and you can watch my clips, I've been doing this for a little while. At the end of these clips, you just kinda say, "DM me if you have questions." Like, you're never asking them to buy your service or anything like that. It's just provide value without asking for any back. I think that's Hormozy or one of those guys who preaches on that, where it's just like provide value, provide value. Don't ask for it back. And at the end of the day, you will get it back because they build trust, then they give you their money, right? And so there's many technical ways to establish credibility on these platforms. What I would say is get on them, start with Instagram and maybe LinkedIn. You don't have to do all of them. If Instagram's just your main one, choose there. You can actually get verified on those platforms now for a small fee. I think it's like $8 to $15 a month. That's a credibility point. People trust you more, and then start focusing on content. It can be super simple, just videos of you once a day giving one useful tip. You just got to start getting out there. And the way I do this is I actually set aside one time per month where I load up a bunch of clips. Like, I just spend 4 hours just doing a bunch of them and I queue them up. And so whatever works for you, that's what works for me. But the reality is that's where these people are. And what you have to focus on is engaging content that is short but valuable. So a lot of this one tip, these 3 tips. Don't be scared of being confrontational. right? And so you can kind of say, well, this is what's costing you $20,000 over your lifetime, or this one tip saved a client of mine 50 grand, things like that, right? Catch their attention. They want meaningful or impactful, attention grabbing headlines. And I mean, you can also do LinkedIn, right? So TikTok isn't the only one. Instagram isn't the only one. LinkedIn, there's also a lot of young professionals there. I focus a lot of time there. Um, there's some stats there, like 59% of LinkedIn users make over 75K a year. So they're higher net earners. And so that might be your target demo. That's another thing I would always recommend is, so if you go on these platforms, make sure that you're actually targeting a specific niche, or try to, right? And so there's a lot of noise on those platforms, and just giving general tips is tough. And so if you niche down and you say like Torontonians, or high net worth grads, or doctors right out of school, or something, whatever your practices or focuses on, and even if it doesn't, try to niche down, even if it's a geographical niche or things like that, that will help them find you. Because if you think about when you're Googling, if you were a doctor, you'd be like financial advice for doctors, or financial advice for bankers, or financial advice for high net income earners, things like that. So make sure that you're niching down and focusing on things. And so I may have mentioned this, but what to post, I've got some super easy tips. Like, there are general ones that a lot of people have questions on. What is an RRSP? What is a TFSA? There are all kinds of things. I'll put it in the show notes, but what you can do is you can actually go to things like Google Analytics. It's a free tool. There's other free tools out there that I'll put in the notes, where you can actually go in there and just kind of Google and say, what are the top searches around financial advice this month? And you can get some ideas to start creating content. So you don't just have to be willy nilly. There's a way to be organized about this, to post there. But the thing to always keep in mind is you got to build trust on these platforms for younger generations. And that's where they go. No longer Googling. A lot of them are in ChatGPT or TikToking or using the Instagram search, right? Like, they're in the app, they're already on, and they're searching, and they want to find your content. And when they do, that's how they're going to watch it. They're not going to ask their parents or their cousin or their father or whatever. They're going to ask Instagram. And so you want to show up, you want to build trust. Um, the if you're on LinkedIn, a great one to think about is industry insights. So, the Instagram, like for me, it's slightly different content. So for Instagram, it's like quick tips, how tos, what is an RSP, what is a TFSA. You can have a slightly different angle on the LinkedIn scenario versus Instagram. So on LinkedIn, the angle could be a bit more like thought leadership, right? A bit more credibility about your role, or about your designation, things like that. And so you can have slightly different angles. But again, the idea is, make a consistent effort, at least one post a day if you're really trying to do it. If you're just starting, a post a week, right? But you want to get to at least one post a day on these platforms. Focus on video content. That's all people care about. They don't really love photos. It's funny, you can actually see on Instagram now that even when things look like a photo, it's actually not a photo. It's actually a video of 2 seconds. So there's a new little hack on Instagram where you can make a little video of 2 seconds. You'll probably see it. It's a video of a guy typing on a keyboard, then there's all this text. And so what they've done is they've made a 2-second video, 5-second video. They put all the text so you're there to read it for more than 5 seconds, and the video auto plays. And guess what? 1 view, 2 view, 3 view. And so they get a lot of views and they move up in the algorithm. So there's all kinds of fun things you can do. But if you're going to bite size it, you want to focus on videos. You want to focus on videos under 1 minute with quick tips. You want to do one at least once a week. And you want to try to niche down as much as you can. If you can do those few things and get on Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn or all three, you will start seeing compounding effects in 6 to 8 months. And that's a key point. You've got to stick with it. You've got to stay comfortable with it. And you got to understand that this is a long-term thing. No one goes on Instagram or TikTok, and the algorithm won't even really show you until you've got consistent content. And so don't expect that when you go on there in 1 month, you'll get a lead. It's not going to happen. You'll get views and you can put money behind it if you want, but it's going to take many months to kind of get into it. So, I mean, this was a bit of a lot. It was a lot, actually, not a bit. It was a lot to digest. But if I were to sum it all up, the newer generations live on Instagram and TikTok and social media platforms. You have to be there. If you want to work with them in the future, you have to be there. How do you get there? First, just get on and focus on some credibility things, buying the blue check mark, creating a great username, working on your bio. There's all kinds of tips out there to make yourself look professional. But then shift gears into a consistent effort of at least a video a week of under 1 minute of key tips. At the end of the day, you're going to get a lot of views. If you keep consistent, you're going to get clients. And at the very least, it's a huge credibility thing for this younger generation. Like, they may only watch one video, or when they leave your office or your Zoom, they'll check it out, and that'll be the nail in the coffin. Like, I see a lot of people have that. So anyways, that's my main tip. That's what I'm seeing. I actually presented a much more in-depth case than this at the IAFP conference in Gatineau last year. I'm seeing this a lot. The big advisors or the advisors leaning into younger generations are investing time and effort into this. So you should too. So before I end it, this is my first one by myself. I will have people on here. My next one I'm going to do is going to be like a technology showcase. Okay, what's great tech in this industry? But feel free to let me know if you like ones like this. This is kind of my version of a bite-sized value tip of how to get more business. Yeah, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.